Hello, welcome to Monday again. Doesn't it come round quickly? We say that every week, don't we? But it just seems quicker every Monday. So today's the 20th of March and it's Kath here for Lizzy. So I'm going to bring you the Making It Monday today. We have had rain all day, absolutely all day. And it's just so disappointing after the gorgeous weather we had the weekend. So I can see a few people coming in to see. So tell me about your weekend on Mother's Day, if you celebrated Mother's Day, or what the weather was like. So yeah, so there's a few people joining us. So I'll just say hello to a few people in a minute. And we're going to make Hira today. Hira is a girl's name that originates from the Middle East, and its meaning in English, if you like, is diamond. So I thought that was really appropriate because I'm going to keep all my diamonds in Hira. Well, I could make it 2 inches big and I could still keep all my diamonds in there. So yeah, but you know, all our little treasures. There are some things that are worth diamonds to me. So it's lovely to see everybody. I've seen Gemma, she's scrolled on by, and Rosemary and Diana. Linda is here, Eileen. So it's good to see everybody. I've got 80 people already, so that's really lovely. And the boss is watching everyone, so I have to behave tonight, okay? I have to behave tonight. That means you have to behave. No, you don't have to behave tonight either. And I possibly won't. So like I say, we are making Hira, and I've got the pattern here for you. So if you want to have a quick look on the website, this is what you're looking for. It's in the shop now, ready for you to download, and there's still time for you to get yourself ready. And hello, Liz, and get yourself sewing. So or you can just sit back and relax and watch me sewing, and but you can still download the pattern because you'll need it for when you want to do it. So there's Wendy and Judith just arrived in with us, and Margaret. It's just good to see everybody, and we have 100. So I'm going to make a start. I'll just show you to start with my little Hira, and she's here. She's cute, isn't she? I've undone it because I'm going to show you the inside in a second. So she's got a popper fastening on the outside, and if you saw the live this morning that I did on Lizzy TV, the secret is, and you mustn't tell anybody, the secret is I glued the button on. Oh, always turn it the wrong way. I glued the button on top of the popper. So that's a secret, so don't tell anybody, okay? And so we've got a little pocket on the outside if you want to keep something special in there that you need to get to sooner. Then it's a box shape, so will stand up on its own. We'll talk about that again in a minute. I'm going to take out the wadding and just show you that on the back there, I think you can see it if I turn it inside out a little bit. There is another pocket. So if you wanted to separate some things out so that, you know, earrings, doesn't one always fall to the bottom? So if you want to separate your earrings out, you know that they're in the pocket. So I'm going to pop that wadding all back in, and we're going to have a look. Oh, Abby's arrived. Hi, Abby. And Dawn is watching. So yeah, it's lovely to see everybody. Thank you for joining me. I'm looking forward to tonight. Jackie Thomas is late, got a phone call. Well, it's only about 2-3 minutes, Jackie, so I really wouldn't worry about it. It's not going to be detention this time. Grace is here, and Cindy, so it's really lovely, and I could sit here all evening, couldn't I, just calling out your names and saying hello to you. So why don't you say hello to each other while I adjust the camera, and I'm going to bring it down to desk level so that you can see me, and then we'll have see me working, and then we'll have a look at the sewing machine level in a little bit. All right, so I'm going to tilt this down, so I'm sorry about my fingers and everything else being in the way, and you'll find it a little bit, oh goodness me, it's like being on a ship. there we go. So that looks as if it's a bit skew-if, but I think it's the desk that's more skew-if rather than anything else. So I think if I bring things in, you might be able to see. Let's just adjust it a little bit more. Are you still there, everybody? You're chatting amongst yourselves while I'm ferreting about on the desk here. And while I'm doing that, I'm just going to refresh my laptop so I can actually see your comments if you're making any. So here we go, and I'll just make it a little bit bigger. Sorry about that, everybody. Lovely. So I can see everybody now and what they're saying to me, and I can see that you can see if I have that a little bit over there. No, over here. Oh, it's always backwards, isn't it? Okay, lovely. So for a closer look, here's our little Hira. There's my little glued on button. So that's what we're going to do. Now I've done a couple of things because there's something special that I want to show you towards the end, well at the end. So I've made up part of the lining because it's exactly the same as you're going to make up the outer part of the pouch. And what we're going to do first is the pockets. So we have a pocket on the inside, and that's a taller pocket, so that's that one. And we have a pocket on the outside, which is a shorter one. So you can see this fabric here, the white with the spot, is my lining, and this fabric, the blue with the white spot, is the outer fabric. Now the one thing I've done differently tonight is that I've not added interfacing to the outer fabrics. I have put it in the pattern, but I've also put a note to say that you don't have to use interfacing, and indeed if you're going to use interfacing, use G700, which is a really nice light one, or the equivalent with you. I can't remember, it's SF something, and I can't remember the equivalent, but anyway, if you haven't got G700 or the equivalent, just leave it out. You'll get a floppier pouch, and I'm going to leave it out for two reasons tonight. The best reason in the world is because I want you to see that it's a floppier pouch. But the real reason is I can't find my G700. Now, I had it a couple of days ago when I made my first one, but I have to be honest, don't I? So it's time for confession tonight, and secrets. So you won't tell, will you? Please don't tell Lizzy. I hope she's not got her headphones on. So okay, so here's my sewing machine. Yes, I can see that on there now. And all I'm going to do with these two pockets, what I've done to start with is I've turned over by 1/4 inch and another 1/4 inch, and I've pressed it, and I've done that so you can see that there. Okay, and I've done that on both pockets. All right, so and then what we're going to do is from the front, we're just going to top stitch those. You don't have to top stitch them if you don't want to, but I think it makes them look a little bit neater and stops them from rolling up. So make sure my machine's on, and here we go. So has anybody told me about their weekend? Or I don't know what that's about. It's in a safe place. Either Bridget or Rachel has said it's in a safe place. I'm not quite sure what's in a safe place, or whether they mean that I'm in a safe place. But yeah, I just don't want you to tell all my secrets, because you know, if they're out there, they're out there then, aren't they? That's it. I think I might leave my machine just slightly there. Can you see if I do that as long as I'm here? Oh, there's actually a bit of shadow. Let's take it away a little bit. So I've trimmed my little ends and made that all nice and neat. And then I'm going to pop these pockets where they should be. So let's do the lining one first, because the lining one is very simple. I'm just going to put this pocket on top of the lining, the one lining piece. There are 4 pieces of lining, as there are 4 pieces of outer fabric. And I'm just going to baste all the way down those 3 edges, okay? And then with the other one, I'm going to do exactly the same, and then we will So that's that one, and then we will do the flap in a second. So I've basted both of those for a minute, and so Yvonne says she's had her brace off after how many? 6 weeks, so can start doing a bit of sewing again. Fantastic, that's good. I hope it's all healed up nicely, and so I'm going. I hope you can see there. Put it in a little bit further. I'm going from the top of the pocket down to the end. It's about 1/8 of an inch. I'm turning, going around the bottom, and then back up to just beyond the pocket, only a stitch or two. Now I started off with a reverse stitch, but you know, it's just habit. I don't need to. You don't need to. So somebody went to see the Bootleg Beatles. Oh, I bet that was great. I haven't seen any what am I going to say? Lookalikes, I was going to say. But I haven't seen any of the ones of the Beatles. I have seen the Australian Pink Floyd, which was amazing. We went to Cardiff to see that, and it was just fantastic. Very loud, but you know, that's okay. Okay, so this is the lining one, so there's nothing that we need to do with that one anymore. We can sort that out in a few minutes. So I'm going to put that aside with the lining. This is the front. Well, I've put it on the front. You don't have to put it on the front. This is the front of the outside. So this pocket needs a flap. Okay, so let's pop that away for a second. And what I'm going to do is just show you what I've done. Now, it will tell you in the pattern these measurements and things. So this is the flap, which started off life just as a square, okay? And all I've done is diagonally fold it in half. And then I've said to you in the pattern, with the fold nearest you, so it is nearest you, mark these sides and this and cut them off. How drastic. Okay? Tells you in the pattern how much to cut off, and then it tells you at the top how much to cut off at the top as well. Okay, so pop those away. And then what we're going to do is we're going to sew all the way around, not along the flap, the fold, not the flap. This is the flap. That's the fold. We're going to sew up there, across there, down there a little bit, jump after an inch, down there. So I've said to you in the pattern, I've described it as following the shape, all right? So we're following the shape of this, and then you'll see in a moment what shape that comes out at when we turn it in the other way. Okay, so I'll start at this end. 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. That wants to get stuck in my machine, so I need my stiletto. There we go. Okay. Stop at 1/4 of an inch, go across the top. Now we're going down the second side. I'm going to back stitch there, and then I'm going to leave at least an inch. It's a little bit fiddly when you turn this through, but it will work. And then back down to the other side. And then what I will do is it helps with turning through, to be quite honest, or at least I find it does, because it flattens everything out. If my iron will heat up quickly, I'll just give that a little press, and then I'm going to cut off some of the bulk around the corners. So all the corners. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 corners. So cut off the the bulk, and then be patient, because it is a little turning, but then it's only a little piece. If you can't do it with your fingers, because I know that some of us have got problems with our fingers. I do some days. And then we can use our little forceps here, whatever you call them. So make sure you get the right shape and you push out all the corners. There we go. I told you it's a little bit fiddly, but it's worth a little fiddle because it looks nice when it's finished. So that's the one little edge, the one side. This is the top, so make sure that's nice and square across the top, and then the other corner comes down here. So that's a little fiddly bit. And then to make this less fiddly, turn in your gap, can you see? And to make it less fiddly, grab the glue, give it a press, and grab the glue. You can use well, don't use quilter's tape. I was going to say you can use quilter's tape, but use a fabric glue if you can, because we're not going to top stitch this. We're just going to put it on. You could top stitch it if you wanted to, but I'm not going to top stitch it. There we go. And I haven't made the best job of that, but it's fine. And choose your best side and make that the front. So what we want to do next is take our piece with the pocket on it. Is anybody, Illegal Eagles are fab? Yes, I've seen those, and there's a band called Talon as well, that are Eagles tribute band. That was the word I was waiting for, and they are fabulous. I've seen those lots of times. They're really good. So with your folded edge, we are going to pop that just inside. Okay, so you can see where those corners are. I'll show you the corners here and here. So there's a folded edge, there's a straight bit there. Well, mine's not awfully straight, but it is a straight bit. Doesn't matter because it's going to be inside the pocket. And we're just going to put this, pop that into the pocket just until those shoulders, I suppose I could call them, are just poking out. Okay, and I'm going to put a pin in. Is what we're going to do is we're going to bring back the pocket, and we're going to stitch along there, anything from 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, but we don't want it the sewing showing up above the pocket. So I'd say 1/8 of an inch. Make sure your pocket is central. I'm not going to measure it. I'm just going to judge that by eye. And then we'll take this to the machine. I'm going to put my iron back. Turn it off, because I know you tell me off if I don't turn it off and it's too near to my hand. Okay, so I don't know how much of this you'll see. Don't worry if your stitching comes undone there, because it's only your basting, all right? So I'm going to start off, in fact, I'll start off this way because it makes it easier. And my little darling foot makes it easy to get right to the very edge. So do it 1/8 of an inch if you can. If not, I'm going to do a back stitch to start and sew all the way along to the other end, and then do a back stitch to finish. Cut your threads, pop my pin away, and then that's what we've got. Okay, so yeah, we haven't got very much in the way of little ends there on the back, but they'll all be inside, so don't worry too much about those. I like to make it all nice and neat though. Went to see the Beatles in 1963, talking about the Beatles and the Illegal Eagles. I've seen the real Eagles lots of times, and oh, I absolutely love them. So there we are. What we're going to do now to secure this is to just fold it over, You can see now I chose the right side because that isn't quite how I would have wanted it, but it's good. It's all good. And then I think there's still some heat left in my iron. I'll turn it on anyway. And the next thing we're going to do is to place a popper on that pocket. Now, I put a popper on the pocket, and then I put a button on the top of the pocket with glue, with the T2 glue from Gutermann. Fabulous stuff. And what you can do, if you like, is to make a buttonhole in here. If you're feeling brave, make a buttonhole in the flap, sew a button onto the pocket, and then you can do it up. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put poppers on. So take a little bit of H250, only a tiny little bit, and we'll keep that for in a minute. Find your, where's my popper putter inner? There it is, ready waiting for me, my popper putter inner. And I'm just going to judge this by eye. We want it central, and I'm going to pop it just about there. So, my stiletto. Now, I shouldn't tell you to do this, but I do it. If you've got a sharp stiletto, that's fine. Make a hole in your flap, and we want, sorry, my fingers are all in the way, fat fingers. We want that to be on the outside, and then I'm going to put the top hat. You know me by now, I like to call this the top hat and this the rubber ring. Can you see the difference with those? If I hold that up a little bit. Yeah, so I'm putting the top hat on the top one, and there's a very good reason for that as well, and I'll show you in a minute why. Grab your popper putter inner, give it a squeeze, and your popper is put in. Okay, then because you've put the top hat on there, pop that down. Don't pull it right down. Just bring it up just a fraction, about 1/8 of an inch, and give that a good press. And you can't see it very well, but I can see that there's a ring there that's come from there. So I'm going in the centre of there, and I'm going to put a hole. Before I put the popper in, I'm going to find the shiny side of my H250, or whatever you've got really. This is just to make it a little bit stronger. I popped it on the back where the hole is, and I'm going to give it a press to press that down. Your hole might close up a little bit, but it's fine. So you can see that I've put the H250 on the back. Can you tell there? Yeah. And this time we want the lid of the popper, or the cap, or whatever you like to call it, on the inside, and the rubber ring on the outside. Give it a squish with your fingers. Come on. Couldn't get the fabric to fold back over then. And give it a squish with the popper putter inner, and there is your popper put in. Okay, so if you wanted to, like I say, you could put a button on, and if you want to put a clear popper on, then you can always do what I did and glue a button on the top, especially if you have the Gutermann T2, because it's fantastic stuff. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to assemble our pouch together. And what I've done here is to mark, I think you can see those marks, with my heat erasable pen. Can you see? And I've marked 1/4 of an inch in from the side and 1/4 of an inch up from the bottom on all the corners. The only corner I haven't done is this one. Oh, I have done it. Is this one. Yes, I thought I hadn't done it. So I'm just going to do that now. So measure 1/4 of an inch in. I'm giving nothing away by saying that, because you all know that our 1/4 of an inch is our seam allowance. So I'm going to put a little mark there and a little mark there, because what we're going to do is we're going to sew all these together to make a tube. Oh, that was a bit silly. I wanted on the bottom, not the top. So I'll get myself confused if I do that. So don't make the same mistake as me. Make sure you're doing this on the bottom, because we're going to sew right from the very top, but we're going to stop sewing a 1/4 inch from the bottom when we put these together. Does that make sense? So we're going to put these right sides together, make sure that our bottoms are together, and we're going to sew right from the very top, but we're going to stop at the 1/4 inch mark, and we're going to do that with all 4 of them. So I'm going to the machine. Is the view okay for you? Oh, you used Lizzy's autumn leaf template for the 1/4 inch dots. Diana, that's an amazing idea. I have the 1/4 inch templates over there, and I'd still used my ruler. See, old fashioned as they come. I just forget. My memory is shot to bits. Okay, so 1/4 inch seam allowance then. From the top, do a back stitch. You can pin these if you like. They're only small, so there's no real need. Stop at the 1/4 inch mark and go backwards for a stitch or 2. That's it. Just making sure that that's in the right place. Yep. So at the bottom there you can see we've got a little gap. Can you see that? 1/4 inch gap. So again, with the next one, right sides together, right from the top. Keep your raw edges nice and together. And stop at 1/4 inch. And the next one, back stitch to start. So, can't see when you go under machine, but needle view is great. When I go under the machine, I don't understand what you mean when I go under the machine. I haven't been under the machine. I can't get under there. Do you mean behind the machine? When I do this. So what I need to do is to do that. Is that what you're saying? Bring that in a bit further and then you can see. I hope. Yes, I see what you mean. Okay. Thank you. That was Jackie. Thank you, Jackie. Right. So you can see now that I'm lining up the top and then I'm going to stitch to that mark. Yeah? Lining up the top and stitch to that mark. Okay, this is the last one. So I've got all 4 together, so this has given us a square. Okay, I'll push that away while I show you, especially if you can't see while it's in the way. So we've got a tube, inside out tube, and we've got on all 4 edges, corners, we've got this gap, and that's going to allow us to put our base in, which is what we're going to do now. So let me just make sure I've got the right size. Yes, I've got the right size. Okay, so we're going to fold this back so you can see what I'm doing there. Fold that bit back, and we're going to be stitching the base to this side. So we bring the base up, right sides together to that, and then this time I'm just going to put a pin in there. and then we go all along to the other side, and with that one fold that one up as well. So get the other bits out of the way. Put the corner to the corner. I'll show you when I've done it now so that you'll be able to see better. And that's where we're going to stitch. Okay, so we're going to stitch from the mark there, the 1/4 inch. So at the end of our, I don't know whether you can see my stitches there. Let me just get my stiletto and show you. So that's the end of my stitches right on that mark. And I'm going to sew this seam across here from this mark to this mark. Now, yeah, I've just gone over a touch there, but that won't matter. This mark is at the end of the stitches more or less. Okay, so just be careful when you do it that you only go to the mark. So we're going to start at that mark. So pop your foot down and then pop your needle down, or pop your needle down first right into the mark. Okay, and we've got this bit all folded back. So the only 2 bits of fabric that we've got, make sure that is folded back. Just a second. Okay. Oh dear, when you're trying to, it all stops you doing it properly. Okay, so make sure your fabric's folded back. I think it was, but I looked at it the wrong way around. Pop your needle down into the mark, 1 or 2 stitches and a couple of back stitches, but don't go beyond the mark. And then we're going 1/4 inch. I'm going to make sure that this is back as well, and that these 2 sides are fitting, because we don't want to catch that other side in. Does that make sense? I'll be showing you again in a minute. Whoops. Okay, so sew to, in my case, is a blue mark, a little blue dot, back stitch, and there we go. Okay, so there we've got our one side on, and you can see that the other side was pushed out of the way, and the same on there, the other side was pushed out of the way. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it round and concentrate on this panel. I'm going to sew this panel to the base. So again, fold that away, pop the corner to the corner. It's a bit fiddly. Pop it under your machine. I'm not going to pin this time because it's all holding itself in place. I've got a little tuck in there. So I'm just going to unpick that slightly, just that 1 stitch, stitch too far. And how are we doing? We're just 1/2 so we're okay. So making sure your fabrics are all tucked out of the way. And we're going again to pop our needle down into that blue mark, and we're sewing to the next blue mark. The back stitch, and again turn, swivel your base, pop anything between the base and the panel that you want to stitch it to out of your way. Now you'll get used to this. I tend to pull that at an angle, and you'll get used to it. Okay, if you pop your needle down, and then you'll be able to push everything away on the other side as well, so it'll be, I'm sorry it's not a great view for you. Let me see if I can push this back a little bit. No, you still can't see when I'm under this bit, can you? You still can't see very well. I'm so sorry. But you'll get the gist. There's good photos on the pattern as well. Sew to the blue mark and then come back. And then you've only got one side to do. No need to leave any turning gaps in this outer bit. So push the side away, push this, see you've got 3 bits meeting there, you see? So push this one away and concentrate on the top and the bottom one. It won't catch anyway because you're sewing from 1/4 of an inch in. So it's just a little fiddly to straighten it out if you've got 3 bits in the way, but you know, do your best. That's all we can do. All right. So then this should fit perfectly, she said. And it does, look at that. Back stitch at the beginning. I'm getting boring now, aren't I? Back stitch at the end. Okay, lovely. So then we have lots of ends. So let's trim those off. It's like trimming pastry, isn't it? All right, it's nothing like trimming pastry. Love my nail colour. Oh, do you know where I had this done last week? Funny this was, and I said to her, "Oh, I think I'll have that colour because that's our theme for this month." She knows what I do for a living and etc. That's our theme, blue and, you know, mother of pearly. So I said I'll have that. What I didn't realise that it was two. That's my stiletto gone on the floor. It was 2 different colours, one on top of the other. So she went to paint my nails after she'd done all the preliminary bits, and the blue was dreadful. It was an awful colour. I'm just turning this in the right side, and then if you want to, you can give this a nice press down the seams. I'm not going to bother at the moment because it's only going to take up time. So there's our outer more or less done. Okay, I'm going to pop that to one side and bring in the lining. Now I've sewn 3 lots of the 3 panels of the lining together, and what we're going to do is to sew the last one on. What I haven't done, and I should have done, but I'm not bothered because I can sort it out, is to leave a turning gap in the other side. I don't want to leave a turning gap in the side that has the pocket on it because it's too bulky. So in one of these 2 sides we need to create a turning gap. So don't worry if you forget it, as long as you remember it before you stitch on the base. Well, stitch on all the rest together. Okay, so I'm doing exactly the same with this, starting from the very top down these sides and finishing, you can see there, finishing at the little blue dot. Okay. Okay. So that's that one. And then we're going to bring this one up and we're going to do exactly the same. Haven't got a blue dot on this one, so I'll create one. There we go. So again, we're making the tube. So the lining is made up exactly the same way as the outer part. Down to the blue dot and back. Okay, while I remember, I'm just going to undo a few stitches on this side, just to create that turning gap, just while I remember. You can do it when you're ready to do it, but it's reminded me now. Okay, so it's exactly the same process with putting in the base. So the right sides together, I'm going to start off with that pocket, fold this side back and concentrate on this one. Pop your needle down into the little blue mark, a couple of little stitches. Now get rid of this bit. Once you've done this first one, this is not too bad because they stay out of the way. And back stitch, then turn, pull this one out of the way, and line up those two. Needle down in the blue spot. You'll have got this by the time I've finished, won't you? Reverse. Stitch to the next blue spot or the end of the stitching, whichever you can see first. Turn it again. Concentrating now, stopping talking. There we go. Pop your needle down. Whoops, that's it, get out of the way. I want to come in there, that's it. Then what happened about your nails? I'm sorry, I forgot the nail story. So she went to put the colour on and I thought, oh my goodness, that's a dreadful colour. I hate it, but I can't tell her now because, you know, I'm too shy. If you believe that, you believe anything. So carried on. She put my hand under the lamp, you know. And then when she took my hand out of under the lamp, she started dusting my nail with this powder. And I thought, oh, I wonder what she's doing now. She dusted my nail with the powders, each nail with the powder, put my hand back under the lamp, and this is how it came out, mother of pearlized. I was like, and it was such a totally different colour. I was mesmerised by it all. I was absolutely fascinated. And she said, you're happy with the colour? I said, yes, beautiful. I was a bit worried for a start. She said, I knew you would be. That's why I didn't say anything. Oh, wow. Anyway, so there we have the lining. That's all done. I've got my little turning gap in the side, but I'm going to leave the lining in the inside out position for the minute. The next thing I'm going to do is to grab my channels. So what I've done here is just turn over 1/4 of an inch on my channels. I'm going to have to speed up a little bit now because there's something I want to show you at the end. So I've turned in 1/4 of an inch on the short side. And I'm just going to top stitch along all the short sides. We do need to top stitch here because if we don't, when we put the ribbon or cord through, it will keep coming up this little turning. So do top stitch these. Doesn't matter how far you go sort of with the top stitching, as long as it's within that 1/4 inch turning. So cut those. And then I'm going to fold them in half. Whoops. And press. That was just my little what do you call it, extension lead cube, just falling off the desk, but it can't fall far because there's something behind the desk. So go give those a press in half, and then we're taking our outer pouch. I'm going to match up those seams there, just like that, and put a pin in there for a second. Because what I'm going to do then is to find the centre of this, okay? So I'm going to put a pin just about there. So that's my centre. And then I'm going to find the centre of this. And I'm going to pop the centre of that. I've just folded it and creased it. And I'm going to pop the centre there. And pin this all the way around, raw edges to raw edges. So you don't have to put as many pins in if you don't want to, or you can, doesn't matter. Just looking at my seams then to see which way they go, because I can put them the same way. I'll be nesting these up later. So pin that to hold that, and then we want to do exactly the same the other side. So if you don't want to measure it, fold it in half, match up the seams, give it a press with your fingers, fold this in half. It's a bit messy. Give that, I'm going to trim those off. Put your crease to your crease. And then pin it around. Now at this stage, if you want to baste this on, it just means then that it's easier for you after. But by the time I've basted it, I just as well carry on with what I'm going to do. So there are your channels. Okay, is everybody happy with that? And then what we're going to do is we're going to put our outer pouch inside our lining. Now this pocket here really could do with being opposite the lining pocket. All right, so I'm going to have this towards me and that pocket towards you, and pop that in. And then we're going to line up our seams. Try not to worry about the channels, because they're not going to move anyway. You've got them pinned. So line up your seams with the outer, and your channel will be in the middle. Can you see I've got 4 layers there? So that's a double layer of the channel because it's folded, and then the lining and the outer. And all you need to do is nest your seams with your lining and your outer. As long as your channel is sitting with the raw edges aligned to the raw edges, then you know you're going to be okay with that. So all I've done there is nest those 4 seams, as we want them to be together, and then the pins that you used for holding your channels, you can bring them to the inside, because we're going to sew this from the inside. You will notice, let me show you here, that there is a gap at the sides between those 2 channels, and that's correct. We don't want them touching each other. Doesn't matter if they're 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch apart, to be honest. It's all okay. But they will be shorter, and that is correct. So there's rather a lot of pins here. I've rather overpinned, but you can see what I've done. I've got the channel in the centre, and I've got a sandwich of the channel between the outer and the lining. And I'm now going to sew all the way around. If you've got a free arm on your machine, you can sew from the outside, and that will be nice and easy for you if that will fit. I haven't, so I'm sewing from the inside. You'll find it easier to sew from the inside if you haven't got a free arm. Right, so we're doing 1/4 inch seam allowance, and we're going all the way round. We have our turning gap ready, so we don't need to worry about that. And we're just going all the way around this edge. 1/4 inch. Don't sew over your pins. We're nearly there. I think I'm going to have an extra 5 minutes just to show you what I want to show you at the end. So we might go over 5 minutes if you're all right with that. We might not. Okay, so we've got that all nicely sewn. So you can see lots of fraying on this fabric, but don't worry about that. It'll all be on the inside. And there's my turning gap. So I'm going to pull everything through the turning gap. Is everybody okay? Oh, you could see little bridesmaids carrying these, Deborah. That's a really good idea, to be quite honest. That's a very nice idea, especially if they've got a little gift in from the bride. That would be nice, wouldn't it? There. So just push the corners out. This is the lining bit. Push the corners out. And you can see our channel standing up there. So the next thing to do is push the corners out on, and you can see those corners at the bottom that are square. See those? Yeah. And then, so you're turning gap. I'm not going to do that. I'll do it later, because you can do it later. So we're going to push it all in and give it a good old press down. And Hira is nearly there. So what we're going to do then is make sure that these channels stand proud. We've got some little ends that I shall just cut off. I think they're little frayed bits, so they'll pull out. Yeah. And then we just need to give it a little press so that those channels stand really proud. I'm only going to pay lip service to this, but you'll do a good job. If you've got a little iron like this, get your iron right inside. Look, it'll fit. Look at that. It's good, isn't it? So you can give it a really good press. That's all I'm going to do for now. So that one thing we've got left to do is to just thread our cords through, and then I'll show you what I wanted to show you. So this one goes all the way through to that side, and make sure you come out the right place. I've already put a knot in the end of this. It won't stop it going through, so just hang on to that knot. And then I'm going to go all the way back the other side. Chris says she loves it. Thank you, Chris. That's very kind of you. I love it too, to be honest. It's nice and easy to make, and it just looks so cute, doesn't it? So bring your cord out the other side and tie off that one as well. Tie off that end. I've tied the other end. And then trim it so it's about 1/4 of an inch left. So there's your one side. Okay. And then with this one, we're going to go in from the opposite end. So where you've got your open ends there, we're going to make our open ends this side. So thread it through. Your channel isn't very big because this is such a dainty little pouch that you don't want a huge cord. So I've deliberately made it quite small. If you do want a huge cord, because that's up to you, if you want a bigger ball cord, you can always make your channels slightly wider. It's exactly the same principle, but just make them slightly wider. Cut them 1/2 inch wider or something from the dimensions on the pattern. Okay, so there's our channel. There's our drawstring rather. So all we need to do now is to pull, and there we have our Hira. Now you can see on my Hira I've put beads on there. You can put, and I've left so that this cord frays really easily, and it's really nice. It's like a silky. So you can do that if you want to. You can put ribbon in there and just tie a knot in the ribbon if you want to, or you can do what I'm about to show you now. So this, can you see that? This is a little flower for the end of your cord. I did this one and I just wanted to show you this one because it was a little bit bigger. So this isn't in the pattern, So if you want to see how this is done again, then watch the video back. So I'm going to make two, one for each side of Hira. Obviously, she needs two. That one I've started off. This is just, I'm going to tell you the dimensions of this because it really doesn't matter how big or how small you do it because you can adjust. But I've used a 3.5 inch square. Let me just double check that. Yes, I've used a 3.5 inch square. We've got 5 minutes. What we're going to do is we're going to fold it in half so it's wrong sides together, and we're going to stitch down the raw edge there. Just down that one side, don't stitch any more. Okay, now this is, oh, I didn't show you that, did I? I am so sorry. Got carried away with being able to do this, you see. I'm so excited by it. But anyway, you can see that all I've done is stitch down that one edge. Okay? And then this is the tricky part. This is why I do it a little bit bigger than I need, to be quite honest. We need to turn this, but we don't want to turn it all the way through. We only want to turn it so that the raw edges meet. Now, I did have so when it comes to almost halfway, bring that raw edge down, and we want to make a little tube. Your finger's good for this, so that, I don't know if you can see this, but the raw edges, they meet just a little bit short on that one side, so give it a wiggle. Any smaller than this and it's difficult to get your finger in, but can you see that my raw edges meet now? Okay, so for this, 3.5 inches is going to be slightly big, but don't worry about it because I say we will adjust in a minute. What I've got here is a needle and thread. Okay, and what we're going to do is to sew those raw edges together. We need to do this by hand because we're doing gathering stitches, and anything between 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch down, you just do some gathering stitches. So I've got a knot on the end of my thread. I've got my finger inside so you can see it's inside both bits. Okay, and I'm going to go about, I don't know, 3/8 inch, and I'm just going to sew all the way around. The other one I've done already. So little, I don't know, 1/4 inch stitches, because we don't want great big folds. We want nice little gathers. And go all the way round. We started off here, as you can see. Can you see that? I'm not in the middle there, am I? Can you see that? Started off there, and we're going to finish there as well. Okay. And then you can trim your knot afterwards, but what we're going to do now, I'm going to pull it through a little bit more, is don't trim the working end of the thread. We just want to trim the knot off in a minute. So leave the working end of the thread, and then we're going to pull and tie. But first of all, we're going to put our knots in there. Okay, so we want the two ends to be together, so we want those to be together. We want to be together. Yes, wrong sides together. No, it's wrong sides to we sewed right sides together, yes, and then we turned through so that now we've got, if you can see, we've got right side inside and right side outside. Does that make sense? We had our square. Let me show you with this. We had our square and we folded in half, wrong sides together, and we sewed down the long edge, and then we turned it through. You can pretend that's sewn, so it's like that. So inside we've got right side facing out, and outside we've got right side facing out as well. Is that okay? Does everybody understand? Okay. Right. I should have made that clearer, I'm sorry. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop these, you can tie them together if you want to, pop these in. This is the folded edge. We're going to pop these down inside and out the other side. Only the one wants to come. You can knot them together if you want to, but you do need to do both of them with one of these. Okay, so there's our knot. So just above the knot, see there, just above the knot, we're going to gather this as tightly as you can. If you want to use double thread, you can do. Mine is polyester thread, so it's quite strong. Let me do it the other side, fold it. So then we're going to, all fingers and thumbs, then we're going to knot this end whilst we gather. So we've got our, make sure you're, oh dear, dear. Okay, just above your knots. I think it probably would be easier if you tied them together. I'll perhaps do that with the other one. Okay, give that a good few knots. And then just trim off, nope, that's not the scissors, there's the scissors. Just trim off that one edge, that one, so you've still got your working thread on there. Then we're going to fold them back. Again, a little bit fiddly, but you can, oh, I'm going to tie those together because they haven't, that hasn't pushed through. Make the knot a bit bigger. Let's see if I can get them in. Right, from the folded edge through there, and I'm now going to go round and round. So if you don't at first succeed, try a different way. There we go, just a few stitches. What you want to do is just have that gathered just above the knot. Perhaps we'll succeed on the next one. Okay, so we've still got our thread there. We're going to turn this through, so push your knot inside and turn it inside out, and there it is sitting. That's better. Okay, so there it is sitting on your threads. Oops. All right, then what we're going to do is to bring your cotton up into the fold, and we're going to fold your flower in half and just do a couple of stitches to hold in the center, and just a couple of stitches. Don't break your yarn, your thread. And then what we want to do then is to fold the other way in the center. It doesn't want to, just push it, fold together, do another couple of securing stitches. Try not to put the needle in your thumb like I just did. So by stitching a little bit down from the end, the further you stitch down, the less deep your flower will be. I quite like them quite deep, and there it is. And if you wanted to, you could put some stuffing in there before you finish it off. So let's see if I can do the second one a little bit better. So tie your ends, all four, because I've got two lots of cord here. Tie your ends together. I've done the little bit of hand sewing my gathering stitches, and I'm going to pop that through there. It is easier when you've got them all knotted together. Okay, so you're putting this on the cord, fold end up here first, and then we're going to gather this all the way around. I'm going to tie it round anyway, back the other way with that one and that one. So gather it as much as you can, as tightly as you can, and then give it a few knots. So I've got hands in the way now because I'm rushing a little bit. Told you I'd be 5 minutes late. Are you okay, everybody? A couple of people had to go. Well, that's fine. They can watch this a little bit later. You don't have to do these, but it's a nice little thing to do. Finishes off really nicely. Cut your end off. Keep your yarn. I keep saying yarn. It's not yarn. It's thread. There you go. Fold it back. Bring your thread up under that folded seam. Press it in half. You see, when you do it properly, it's quite quick, isn't it? Two or three stitches to hold that way. Squash it the other way. Can you see what I'm doing there? Squash it the other way. Push it out. And secure it in the centre again. Just 2 or 3 stitches. One. Let's go through both sides. And finish it with a knot. You're not going to see these little stitches underneath, but use a thread that is not going to show. Use a coloured thread that is not going to show. And there you have your little tulip. It looks like a tulip, doesn't it? So this is a floppier Hira. Fold, but she still stands up. How good is that? Let's bring you up. Thank you for being patient. You'd think I'd never done those little flowers before, wouldn't you? I have, lots of times. But thank you for being patient. Ah, right. There she is. That's our little Hira. Right? I've got a little message come up there. Get rid of that. I can't see you. That's our little Hira. And those are our little flowers. I've got one on one side and one colour on one side and one on the other. So they're quite pretty, aren't they? And there's our little popper. I hope you like her. She's quite cute. I think she'll be she needs good press. I think she'll be very handy for popping your jewellery in and taking with you wherever you go. Business, pleasure, whatever you like to do. So, I hope you've enjoyed Hira tonight. There's been some lovely little comments to say that you like her. So, go and download, save it to your desktop or your device, your iPad, whatever you do, and then you can make loads and they will sell. So yeah, and I'd like mine with a diamond in the pocket in the front. If anybody has got a spare diamond, that'd be great. So thank you all very much for joining me this evening. Thank you for indulging me in my little makes on the end of there. I think they're quite sweet. And we shall see you on Thursday, because I'm doing Mid-Month Madness on Thursday, and as you know, Lizzy and I will be together in the group. So if you're not part of the group, then you need to subscribe and join the group so you can come and see. I'm actually making something that will kind of go along with Hira. So bye bye everybody, have a great rest of the evening and a lovely week. Lizzy's back on Monday next week with you to do the next Making It Monday project, and in the meantime, take care and enjoy your week. Bye bye for now. Bye.